a shakedown.
What's going on, everyone? This is your guy, Pat Bernard, alongside my right-hand man, Steve Fernandez, and this is the Attacking Third, Season 5, Episode 2. We are back. We are live. We are ready to rock and roll. Listen, in just about 9 minutes, we have a big-time guest going to be hitting the airways. I'm pretty sure everyone's got the graphic. I'm pretty sure all the Union fans will have their questions ready for the man we're going to bring onto the program. But listen, Steve, here we are getting ready to talk some Union soccer. Like I said, a lot of questions we're going to be ready for Dave. Oh, did I just ruin it? No, everyone knows who's going to be here. Dave Leno will be checking into the show. Yeah. So listen, there's a lot of things going on here with the Philadelphia Union. Let's start out today here, Steve. Let's get right into it. Bradley Cornell talked about this team getting ready to go, into New York, big time matchup. I'm ready for this team. I'm ready for them to turn the page a little bit from the last 2 weeks, only getting one goal. I'm ready for this team to play hard nosed Bradley Cornell soccer, and I'm ready to see this team to erupt. Do they do that up in Yankee Stadium?
I think they do. I think this NYCFC team is definitely score. You can score on these guys. I mean, Atlanta put up 4 2 weeks ago. Last on Sunday, they fell 2-1 to Minnesota. And I apologize for my voice, everyone. Allergy season is kicking my you know what right now. But but yeah, no, they got to get back to scoring goals. First 3 games of the season, they had put 10 goals in the back of the net. And in the last 4 matches, only 3 goals. You mentioned it. The last 2 games only putting 1 goal. Last week, 0-0 draw versus Orlando versus a club that they put 4 up against in the opening week. And so I think it's a little bit of a case of teams are figuring out Bradley Cornell's style of the way he likes to press. They're used to the Union having this almost the same starting lineup as starting 11 every single match, minus injuries here and there, which they got a big one in Glavinovic. He's going to be out with that right torn meniscus, so he's going to be out for a while. So it's a time for next man up mentality. We're going to get into it about the big news about Gazdag in a little bit, but the whole team has to have that next man up mentality. Kai's been out the last 2 games. Cornell talked about him in his status. He's still questionable. So I think there's a lot of question marks now with these last few matches versus what there was in the first 3 coming out. We didn't know what to expect, and now I think we do know what to expect. And so I think NYCFC is a good opponent to be able to what you like, those bounce back, those get right games. You know what I mean? So I think NYC, it's a good time for it.
Yeah, and you're right. Listen, this is a perfect opportunity for the next mentality, the next guy up, next person come through, step up, and see what they're made of. And listen, it sucks. It's part of the ebb and flows of soccer. You're going to deal with injuries without the course of the year, losing a couple guys. But again, this is what that Union 2 for, and Union 2's for. And listen to Bradley Cornell's press conference. He said even though he wasn't with the team last year, he was still paying attention what the Union 2 were doing and paying attention to guys like Chris Olney, Kevin Sullivan, Nelson Briere, all those guys. He paid attention to all. You're right. So he paid attention. He's been paying attention to all these young cats And now this is an opportunity for those guys for those young puppies to come through, step up, and see what they can bring to this table. Now, one thing I've noticed though with this Brian Cornell playbook, it has been the next man mentality. Not in the last couple of games like we were hoping for, but
Mhm.
still, this team can do some damage. It's um, the offense is still there. I think he's going to dial up something. He's going to make the adjustments. He's going to have to figure things out. You're still going to face Alonso Martinez, Jose Martinez. New York has a couple guys who can score. Heinz Wolf, those guys can score, but they're going to have to try and slow. To me, is where they are getting beat is off the rush. I've seen too many opportunities where the opposition is making a full on breakaway play, if you want to use hockey terms, where Glasnost is getting cooked and he's getting left in the dust, and they are there. It's kind of almost like, man, this is where your sphincter tightens up, and you kind of rely on Andre Blake to come up with some big plays here, because
He did. He did
yeah,
against Orlando.
that's where
So
his bread and butter is out. Yeah, obviously you have Andre, yeah, that was a clean sheet, but that's where he makes his bread and butter. So with that being said, that's the only thing that kind of scares me with this team. Other than that, um, I need to see this team kind of step up in that regards as far as defense.
I'll give him credit for not having Kai out there, and it looked like I saw a clip on social media of where um, Glavinovic thinks he sustained the injury, and he played um, through the match. So that was bothering him, and to, Orlando is a pretty high scoring team. Their offense is no joke. So um, to be missing Kai, to be missing, to have an injured Glavinovic, I think it spoke volumes of what this team can do. Now, you're not going to have Jan for quite some time. So I mentioned it before. It's the next man up mentality of, it's going to have to be Makana playing, center back. Do you put Harriel? If Kai's not out, you're going to the depth at center back and at left back and right back is going to be it's going to be rough. So I think either you go out and sign someone now, or do they have someone from the U2 come up and possibly play?
Right. Like I said, they're going to have to. They're obviously going to bring in someone from YouTube to step up, just in case if they start getting paper thin up in New York. But our man Frankie James checking in goes, "Don't you know? Don't you know?" Yes, that's my man Frankie James checking into the show. Uh, he also says, "How we doing, gents? Good to see you, Steve, live on the program." Yes, he's a good dude. I love him. I love myself
Yeah,
some
Frankie's the
Frankie James.
best.
Great guy,
Frankie's the
Frankie.
best.
And Ricky said he's watching. Listen, Ricky, this might be your first time watching listen to some Union talk, but that's what me and Steve deliver here, right here on It's a Wrap Sports. But yeah, um, like I said, there's been like I said, Steve, a lot of things going on with this team. Um, last 2 weeks has been kind of rough. I'm saying they lost one in Miami. They drilled against Orlando. I think this weekend you can move forward a little bit, even though you're going to be missing some key pieces. I still think this team can find a win. They've actually, I think they got have five out of the last 6 games. They've kind of owned New York here. I mean, every
Oh
time
yeah,
we've
yeah.
kind of like mopped the floor with them. So
Since 2022, I
again,
feel like.
overall, since 2022, the record is they in the last 24 meetings between both franchises, they've had a 11 wins against one another and 2 draws. But listen, guys, it is time. It is let's pull back the curtain because we have a special
Set the
guest with
stage.
us.
Set the
When you
stage.
says he does set the stage. When you think about Philadelphia Union, You also think about Sons of Ben. You think about Fang. You think about that beautiful view of the bridge right there. But there's one in particular person that you think about because his voice is going to go down in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame because you think of the Harry Cowses, you think of the Jim Johnsons, those kind of guys. But there's one voice that sticks out more than others, and that's my man Dave Leno, and he's right now going to join the show.
Hey, how you
Dave, what's
doing?
up,
How you doing
buddy?
tonight?
Pat, Steve, great to be along with you. Thank you very much for that warm introduction. Hopefully, I can use you guys if I ever make it to the Hall of Fame one day. Maybe we can take a couple lines from that intro. But really appreciate the honor being here with you guys tonight.
No, absolutely, absolutely, Dave. It's an honor to have you on the show with us, and we couldn't be any more grateful for having you on. Dave, listen, there's I want to talk to you about this matchup, but there's been some news along the way, the rumor mills and all that stuff. Sounds like there's a crack in the wall somewhere. So I want to see how much you can address with it about possibly this trade this trade rumor that's been going around. I don't know if you've been hearing anything. It looks like Gaza could possibly be out of here. Number 10, we won't be seeing it for in a Union uniform. Any clarification you can bring to the table on that?
Well, number one, and this is not breaking anything, but it's not like official according to MLS or the Philadelphia Union or the Columbus Crew. Let's put that out there. What is out there publicly is that the Columbus Dispatch reporter put out a picture of Daniel Gazdag in a Columbus uniform. So I think there's no hiding that from the Union standpoint. If he were to go, and it looks like Daniel is being traded from what we've seen from pictures and what sources and other credible journalists are reporting, that's our all-time leading scorer leaving the club. And personally, I can tell you, as the radio play-by-play guy for the Union, just my time, Gazdag means a lot to me. A lot of memorable calls with Danny in them. Among them breaking my buddy Latu's record when Sebastian was literally next to me in the booth when that happened. I think in the end we lost that particular game last year. I think it was like 3-2 Seattle, but obviously that was the big story that night, and he did it in such a short amount of time. I think it is surprising, as you guys have probably already stated tonight, and a lot of people watching this live or on replay would see that why are the Union doing this? And, there could be a number of factors with the expiring contract. He reportedly did have an option. The club had an option for next year. Maybe that was not going to happen. I really have no inside information on that. But I just can tell you just from a personal standpoint, an amazing guy, a terrific goal scorer. I think a great teammate. I think just seeing the guys at training, traveling with the team, home games, road games. I think a lot of people fed off of him, and he's going to be really missed. If the trade looks like is going to go through and probably will be announced officially sometime soon before the weekend. But we're going to miss him in Philly. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I think so. It's tough. Again, one of the best players in the MLS, one of the top strikers last year. I mean, he produced a lot of goals, led the league in penalty goals last year. I mean, he really produced for this Union team, and now him kind of being being moved out, I think really caught a lot of Union fans by surprise, just the way that this Union team's kind of picked up the pace from last year, and it's just like, man, what do they do from here? So, but yeah, it's going to be a wait and see game to see what they can do. And like I said, me, Steve, we've been in the locker room with him, great guy, and all that good stuff. But who do you think could step up in this role?
I think the first name that comes to mind is Indy Vasilev, and I think that's probably someone that a lot of folks maybe aren't talking about. Indy Vasilev, came from Miami, St. Louis under Bradley Carnell, and now playing for us. And he's done well with the minutes he's gotten with this team. Our coach, Bradley Carnell, is very familiar with Vaslev. And what I see about Indy is that he's a versatile piece, guys. He can play the 10, he can play the 8, or we've already seen him this year when Danley was on international duty with Haiti playing at the 6 in like a defensive midfielder position. So I think that's one name that just to watch out for. We saw a lot in the Miami game with Indy coming in. Playmaking ability, strong left foot, can create opportunities. And I feel just in me watching him and calling the action, he's a very shifty type of player. Can bounce off a defender, create some space, can whip in a good cross. I think that's one person to see if him and Quinn Sullivan, who have already played together this year on the field at the same time, but can they mesh as two number 10s together in the 4-2-2-2? And then, you know, obviously the other storyline is what does that mean for Kevin Sullivan? And I think I tell a lot of people ask me that who really don't even follow the Union too much. Does Kevin play more? And I think Kevin would tell you too. There's a plan in place for Kevin. I would caution folks, and again, I don't know officially what the plan is, but I would say that he's 15. He's still developing into his body. He has an unreal skill set for his age, and that's only going to improve in time amongst, you know, 25, 30, 32, 35-year-old bodies, right? At the first team level in Major League Soccer. And I do think he will get more playing time as the season unfolds. We're going to play an Open Cup next month. There's going to be some midweek games too. So I see Kevin getting more time, and you know whether that comes in as a reserve, as a starter, we'll see. And then other guys can fill that role as well. I think the one thing to keep in mind about the Union, Steve, as you probably know, is that we have a lot more depth this year. So we can go 4-2-2-2. We can go 4-2-3-1. We can throw out, even a wing back system, even though our center backs is another question mark with the Glavinovich injury. So it's still, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Once the trade probably going to go official soon. I think that's going to be a big miss, just the goal scoring prowess. And lastly, I'll say on it that I'm sure Ernst, Tanner, Matt, the technical director, Chris, our scouting guy, and others in the front office, they're always looking to add more pieces. And we're only 7 games into the season. It's been a pretty good start, I would say, for a new coach and new system.
Absolutely.
Even everything that's gone down in the off season, how a lot of people wrote us off, whether fair or not fair, and look how we're exceeding expectations. But there's still a long way to go. And I think the next couple of months, given this move and maybe some others coming, we'll see. It will tell a lot about the Union story in 2025. And this is one chapter of it, if it's the end of Gazdag in a Union uniform.
And to kind of add on to what you were saying, I kind of feel like that's why a move like this, if you're going to make it, you have to do it as early as they did in the season to allow the experimental of lineups of who's going to fill in that void, who's ready for it. And I think with the depth that this club has this season, they're in a much better position to, like what you said, to be able to continue the success post Gazdag if all this goes down. Now, I want to get into maybe some more uplifting things about Gazdag. Is he on your Union Mount Rushmore?
I think I've been seeing some.
Sorry about that, gents.
Yeah, I've been seeing some things on social media about should Gazdag be in the Ring of Honor next to Latu and others that might go there. Blake, I think Bedoya. I know there's been thoughts of Ray Gaddis too for his longevity with the club. Look, I throw in there Jim Curtin, his former longtime Union coach. We know about Jim's success with the team. I think you got to put Danny up there two amongst some of the Union greats. What you're asking me, it would be hard to say no, in my opinion. Some people I'm reading saying, but he only played a few seasons with the team. But look at the goal scoring that he had, and you know
Look at the
what?
results.
Yeah,
Yep.
and yeah, he was 24, 25 in MLS play, I think it was, at the penalty spot. But you know what? Those are goals, and we needed those penalties at that time. Remember, he had some big goals in League's Cup. He had set big goals at the end of play. He wore the number 10 for the team. We've had a lot of number 10s just in my time with the Union since 2016, and then there's been several others way before in like Union 1.0. And how could you not, put Daniel Gazdag up there with just his knack for scoring and the playmaking ability? A little bit a different number 10, right? He would go more into like a wider position in the channel, whip in a ton of good crosses for the team. Still could finish inside the box too. Had a terrific goal game one this year. A majestic goal against Orlando on the road, and that's surprising 4-2 win down there that really shocked the league, I think. For me, Steve, to answer the question, yeah, I think Danny's up there. If you're just looking at the numbers, right? And like I often have this conversation with folks about like baseball Hall of Fame stuff, like should a guy from the steroid era get in or not? It's like, but the folks, you can always debate that with friends, right? And I'm not trying to get too much in the weeds of like baseball, but like, what does the back of like the baseball card say? I think what the back of the soccer card for Gazdag gives you, all those goals scored across all competitions, our all-time leading scorer, up there with my buddy Latu and others. And it's not just that, but it's the assist numbers that Daniel had. He was also part of, I think this is without debate, the most successful, run or error, if you call it a short window, whatever you will, of the Philadelphia Union since coming to the team. And I think if you tell the story of that window, Gazdag's mentioned. So how could you not mention him, in that kind of topic of Union greats?
I think so too.
Yeah,
and my last question on Gazdag, your favorite goal call of his throughout the years.
Well, I would say, I was thinking about that the last couple of days. The last one I had was like when he passed Latu. I think I said like something like, I had to go back and listen to it and find it somewhere like Gazdag is on the mountaintop. I think what Jimmy King posted on social media. I listened back and like, it wasn't like, I don't think I really don't script any of my calls. I might think about them like during the day they driving up to the stadium, but honestly, whatever comes out. I don't really write anything down as far as, what I want to say with a particular goal call. But I would say that's up there. I remember I was yelling, maybe almost fell out of the radio booth during, I think it was a League's Cup goal that Danny had last year during our run. I honestly forget the opponent, but I was yelling. There's kind of a behind the scenes clip of me in the booth where I'm just like, Gazdag, and obviously I'm yelling. I'm way more emotional in jubilation. So I would say like those couple come to mind. Also, the I would say the playoff run, his MLS Cup against LAFC, two were really good ones that I didn't have the call of that one for MLS Cup, but those also come to my head with Danny's had I believe a couple hat tricks as well. So those are the few, but probably number one would be kind of the record breaker for all time leading goal scorer. I know we mentioned that a few times, but that's the one that kind of sticks out because that was a big moment because Latu held that record down since the beginning, which was a very long time. And by the way, I want to just say, Sebastian's a friend of mine. Sebastian was so gracious during all that. I congratulated Danny, said it on air, said it to him. Even when Wagner passed Sebastian for the assist record, what a gracious human being Sebastian is. And he was really happy that the team continued to evolve and improve from what him and the others established in the beginning years of the Union to this point, and Sebastian's still heavily involved. And but yeah, from a personal note, once the trade becomes official, I it's going to be sad to see Danny go. We were in Columbus for a training session last year, um, and like then I saw like the picture from the Columbus Dispatch of like Danny on that same field, and it's just weird, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is like the family, component too, which I think a lot of people don't think about. Like you see the picture of him training with, Columbus, who has been like searching, for that Cucho replacement and others that they lost, and I believe they're still unbeaten, having a great start to the season. This only bolsters their attack, and we're going to have to play them twice. And I think the first game's like May 10th,
Yeah.
kind of after
Soon.
our Montreal game. So we're going to see him twice more, and you never know, with other competitions for playoffs and wherever we draw in the Open Cup if they're in that competition. He's going to a great situation. Hopefully the
Yeah.
family's okay with all that stuff and his kids and all that. But I've talked to Danny on the side many times over the years. So hopefully he's doing all right. I know it's probably a tough move, like you said. And then lastly, I've seen some of the figures that are being reported, whether it's 4 million or I think Joe Tanzi and Jonathan Tannenwald reported 4 million plus like 500,000 in performance incentives. And if that indeed is accurate, that's a big chunk of change. And you expect that the union are going to take that money. And the goal, I think, of any sporting director is to reinvest that into the club. And this is not even the primary transfer window finished, so there's going to be more work to be done, and there's going to be some new faces coming in. It's going to be it's a new coach, new system, and you're going to it won't be surprising to say whether it happens this year, next year. There's going to be change with the team. So but I am going to miss Danny.
Yeah, I am too, Dave. I again, he's touched a lot of Philly fans. Again, great job, great striker, and now Columbus is. Listen, if they're looking to make sure Miami's not going to be a problem competing to compete for in the playoffs, they just got he fits the bill because we all know what Dan can do. He's great with penalty kicks. He's great. Creating havoc down low. I mean, he creates his own shot. I mean, you give him the ball, he's going to create some damage. That's one thing Danny's going to deliver for Columbus. And it's going to suck to see him kind of in that rival uniform because we know what he can do. And it's going to be weird to see him playing for another club. But hey, look, more power to him. But Dave, I got to ask you, like I said, great stuff. But look, a couple more questions. Bradley Cornell making quite the impact a quarter way into the season right now. 4-2-1, not a bad start. What to you stands out the big difference from his playbook from Jim's playbook?
So I think last year we were playing a little bit more like possession style soccer, which I think was not the identity or the MO and the ethos of the union going back to when we were really successful 21, 22. Also, and this is not Jim's fault at all. Blake was not healthy at all for the majority of last season, which honestly, as a game caller, just sucked. I felt so bad for Andre and the injury. And then you had Andrew Rick and Oliver Zemla thrust into a situation that those two young guys didn't see coming. And yeah, there were some topsy-turvy moments for both of them, and I think they would tell you that. But nobody thought that was going to occur. So then there were some defensive woes. I think the back line didn't play as strong as they did. And what was kind of hair-pulling just to start about the year before is like there were so many games where we gave up so many early goals. First minute, 8th minute. We were the last unbeaten team in MLS last year, if you remember that. And then we lost, I think it was that first game to, I think, RSL, I think at some point in April at home, something like that. And then it kind of, some results didn't go our way. Like the Miami game, we're up 2 men We end up losing on a Leo Alfonso 94th minute goal. We got chipped at Cincinnati. You know, we allowed Chicago on the road to come back when we were up big at Soldier Field. So there were so many like points dropped from winning positions last year, and that was to me, it's like, you know, the data might tell you otherwise about the coach and all that, and that might be like above, you know, my kind of analysis as a radio play-by-play announcer. But I'd say the difference, what you're asking with Carnell is, you know, obviously playing more without the ball, which they wanted to do. They are running a ton more. You could say, like, people automatically think, okay, the Union are pressing, and they are a pressing team, but it's not like they're all out high pressing all the time, or running the goal kicks or the first pass out of the back. There's pressing cues, and obviously that changes depending on the scout. What I mean is, do they pick up at the top of the 18 after a goal kick? Do they drift back to the top of the circle? But what I would tell you is the difference to me, and this may be getting a little bit into the weeds, but counter press. Pressing, for those watching, I have no idea, is like when you lose the ball, how quickly do you go get it to win it back? So how quickly do you win the ball back? And the Union do that at an exceptional rate. They're the last couple of games, I think you've noticed the Union, what the Union team would be without Kai Wagner. And Kai, for me, in my little opinion, is the best left back in the league, just from what the data is showing you and how he impacts the team with the crosses, that what he gives in the attack, also defensively on that left-hand side of that partnership he has. So I think Bradley, you know, bringing this 4-2-2-2 box, I think, you know, different from the diamond, I think it's working out really, really well so far. I think the first couple of games, you know, the team goes 3-0, and now what, they're like 1-2-1, I think, in the last 4. So there's a playbook right now. Like Bradley would tell you, all the teams, you know, everybody has data and video on your team. There's no surprises anymore. There might be a tinkering in the starting lineup, which could be a surprise, and a, you know, personnel change, like, you know, with we're talking about the potential Gazdag move and some others not playing, coming in. But your system is your system, and that's your identity. And that's what I think clubs around the world, what I've learned, would tell you from coaches, sporting directors, would say, you know, you want to say, hey, the Union is known for being, you know, a great counter-pressing team, quick in transition, plays the 4-2-2-2. So to me, that's kind of the difference that Bradley has brought, working against the ball. You know, the relentlessness of your forwards, the running. I did think you saw that under Jim too. But what I mean is, like, your forwards, like your Baribos, your Uwas, your Damianis, how much do they come back deeper to help out the midfield, you know, trying to make a tackle and quickly go back up the field. He's asking a lot of the guys, him and this new staff. Right now, I tell you, through 7 games and they're like 3rd in the table right now. It's so congested, so a lot's going to unfold. I think I mentioned in my first response, over the next couple of months, you'll get a better picture of where things are going to be. But sign me up for this type of start. Of course, you always wish for more wins, and I thought our team was way better in the second half in the Miami game than Miami was, even though Messi scored on like his first time in the game. We created way more opportunities in that game. And I think that showed a lot of the league against a very reputable competition, what we can do. And that stems from the coach. I think the players are buying into Bradley and what he's preaching out there. And all you can do is, as a fan, as a broadcaster, as reporters, is you hope that continues. So I think the coach is and I'm saying this objectively, should be getting very glowing remarks based on how the team's doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Steve, you got a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you one last question. This week, NYCFC, a battle. You got Matt Freeze, Andre Blake, 2 of the top goalkeepers in MLS. What are your expectations offensively for both these sort of clubs going up against these stellar goalkeepers?
So the Union have had a good run against New York City. Do you guys remember last year we beat them 5-1 behind
I remember.
Andrew Rick at Yankee
Mhm.
Stadium? So just so everybody knows, we're playing at City
Yes.
Field this time. So we're playing on a baseball field, which is number one. Which kudos. I just want to say right off the bat, anybody from New York watching, kudos to them and their staff and everybody, and like the New York and the Queensboro. Just getting that stadium. I think I work the U.S. Open every year for tennis, and I can tell you,
Mhm.
it's going to add to that whole like environment with like across the street from New York City Stadium, you all have the Mets, and then on the other side of the boardwalk there, you're going to have like the U.S. Open tennis facility, which is really going to be nice. So that for
Incredible.
me is one. Number two, we fared really well against New York City. I think, we've taken, I mean, I'm not looking at any notes or anything, but I think it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, like 5 of the last 6. I think we've
6, yep.
done very well, right? Or 6 of 7, something like that.
Mhm.
We've done very well against them. And obviously, there's a lot of familiarity between the history of the clubs when you go back to the 2021 Eastern Conference Final, where we played, unfortunately, that COVID B team, which really that game should have been delayed. They go on
Oh,
to
yeah.
win MLS Cup right against Portland. I was thinking we would be there, and then 2022 we get the revenge for us to go to MLS Cup. We beat them in the Eastern Conference Final. I was on the call for that game. That's another one that stands out. One of my calls I often think back of is just the jubilation and everybody cheering and the excitement in the stadium, how loud it was. And hopefully we can get back to that. As far as this type of game, um, I think City Field lends itself a little bit better than Yankee Stadium. I've walked Yankee Stadium before games, and I can tell you it's probably similar with City too. It's just there's so many uneven, patches of grass in the outfield. That's what's covered up with the dirt um, being played there, and I'm just ready for them to get their own stadium. And it's so small, right? So from a goal kick, could quickly lead to a chance the opposite way. We're running into New York City, for those that don't know, at a time where they've dropped the last 2 games. They lost 2-1 to Minnesota. They played last Sunday. And before that, they were in a wild, frantic 4-3 loss to a good Atlanta team that's coming in after this New York City game that we have on the road on the 19th in Chester. So I would say, like in my analysis and my film study, gearing up for the broadcast, I would say New York is number one, quick in transition. For the back line, Keaton Parks in the middle, and whether Justin Hack, a homegrown, plays next to him or somebody else, and how they feed the guys up top to the ageless wonder, Maxi Morales, who's I think 38 years old, been with New York since the inception up top. He's like now wearing the number 10 again with Santi Rodriguez out with them. And their number 9's doing a great job. Alonso Martinez, he scored in a nice rate. Another guy who's really quick that I think the Union back line, whoever starts, needs to be aware of, I think is 17, Hannes Wolf. He has several goals this year. He kind of flies down the flank and cut inside with a strong strike from the outside. So shots from outside the box for me are key. You mentioned Matt Freese, former Union homegrown and a keeper from Wayne, Pennsylvania. Played a couple of years at Harvard. I know Matt, really good guy. Talked to him on the field before the game last year at Yankee Stadium. I think he loves playing the Union.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I wish, and I wish there was a way. I love Andre. I wish there was a way last year, especially to keep Matt Freese, right? That I think that might have helped us, as Andrew Rick's
Oh, yeah.
coming up, right? As a young guy, and Oliver's Zemlet too. But Matt's got a chance to be a number one, and I'm really happy for him and his family. And he's doing a great job. It was a battle between him and, if you remember in the past, a kid named Luis Barraza. And at first they were starting Barraza, and then Matt kind of won that job after Sean Johnson left. And so I'm happy for Matt. Thiago Martins is the captain. He's on the back line for them. They have a Princeton kid, O'Toole's on the left, the young kid, Ilinich, who plays really well on the right. Those 2 guys look to get advanced on the channels. I think for the Union, just giving you a little scout on New York there, with the Union, the question mark is at center back, right? So you have this unfortunate meniscus tear to Jan Glavinovic, which really sucks because he was coming into his own, such a great guy.
Yeah, he was.
I'm I really feel for him. Coming to a new team, getting a couple three, I think, consecutive starts in a row. And now, stepping in Owatu Makanya, who had a surprising, which was to a lot of people, but I think not to many people within the Union, what Owatu did with Union 2 last year. Physical, doesn't matter if he goes against Messi or somebody else. He can hold his own as a center back. So
Yes.
I'm thinking he steps in next to Glesnes, and then the question mark is like Neil Pierre ready to be that depth piece. And I think the body tells you in the line of work that he's ready. And I think even listening to Jillian and Kyle Alimony on their podcast talking with Marlon LeBlanc, former Union 2 head coach, you don't know if the kid's ready until you put Neil in. So and I agree with that. Same thing with, like he was mentioning, like Quinn Sullivan getting opportunity, and he's delivered when Jim kind of gave him a starting role and more playing time. So in the game, I just think you got to be aware of the quick transition plays for New York from the Union standpoint. I think it's the type of game where I see New York dominating and having more of the ball, not dominating play, but having more of the ball than the Union, which probably isn't a stretch to say, just given the Union style in the game. But when we do win the ball, the question that I have, different from the Orlando game, the scoreless draw into this one, is how are we creating? Is Kai ready to go? Is he back healthy? We're going to have to wait and see on that. If not, who plays at left back? Is it again a Nate on one side, Frankie on the other? What other options are there for the coaching staff? Do we see as many outside shots from Lukic and Danley like we saw last game? Is it Ivaslev step in at the number 10? Who starts up top? Is it Damiani again with Baribo? Is this Uwe get back in the starting lineup? And Bradley often tells me, and he tells the press, that there's a lot of competition, and that's healthy. And those are hard decisions that the coach has to make in the game. I see this game. I mentioned the recent run that we're on, coming off the scoreless draw. Before that, the games. I'm thinking of Nashville, the Miami game, the 1-0 win over St. Louis, and a clean sheet at home. Yeah, it's like I think the staff would tell you we got to continue to rack up points. Everything's so congested in the standings. I try not to read too much in the standings this early in the season, guys, because as we've all been through it over the years, we know is like, you got, this will be game 8, get another 8 in the bag, and you're going to start to see, maybe it's Miami and Columbus creep up, maybe the Union are right there, and whoever's in the mix.
Create that separation, yeah.
So I really objectively like our chances in the game. I think, I like our chances just with the style, like we're playing against anybody. But as long as we're aware of just that direct play from New York out of the back from some goal kicks, because just on a tighter field, for anybody in the back line, whether it's Risa for them, one of the center backs, Thiago Martins, Freeze, distribution, automatically, I shouldn't say automatically, it very well could, with a snap of the fingers, lead to a goal-scoring opportunity, which is different than on a normal size pitch. Yeah. So if the Union are ready for that, which I think they will be, and most of the players have experience, if not all, playing on this type of pitch, I think we'll be ready to go, and the team has fared well on the road this year as well. So I'm really looking forward to the game. I really am.
Same here, Dave. Listen, one thing I noticed with this Bradley Cornell, listen, brand new coach. It seems like all the players are bought into his regime, even though right now they're going through the little bumps and bruises. That's fine. It's part of the game. But I
Yeah.
think this team's orchestrated to have a good run this year, and maybe that's just me being a little bit optimistic. But the way I see the way Bradley Cornell preaches during post-game press conferences is just to have competition throughout the week, make it tough competition with these guys Monday through Friday, and then come Saturday, they're in game mode already as it is. So that's why I like it. But I got to ask you this last question. I thought I was a man of prep work. No, you, Dave Leno, you sit the king because you do not just covering Union. You're a Union insider. You cover NCAA basketball. I mean, you do post game, broadcasting there. You're broadcasting tennis everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, and when we do when you showed your notes, I just see sticky notes, iPads.
Yeah.
Did we lose Pat?
Sorry, the
No,
the,
no.
the internet was cutting out a little bit.
No,
there,
I'm here.
but
I'm sorry.
No, I
Okay,
no, but
I'm
I heard.
sorry. No,
I
my
heard your.
my
Yeah, go
question is, okay.
No, I
No,
and
I didn't
really,
know, but the question, like, I just don't.
Yeah, Pat.
yeah. Go ahead, Pat. You finish. Go ahead.
No. I just don't know. Like, you got notes, sticky notes, iPads, notes here, notes there, coverage every day. I mean, I don't know when you get time to sleep. I mean, you are a set preparation every time you go in that office.
I really appreciate that because that's the cornerstone and the foundation of my work from ever since I was broadcasting in high school, in college. I just, whether I was, announcing just to my mom and dad or maybe some, parents, watching listening to the games when I was traveling around with Indiana when I was a college student, broadcasting volleyball and softball games. And I will tell you guys, and I'm not just saying this, like I treat all those games with like thinking like, you know what, this is the game that, whether it's, the mom and dad listening, the grandma, the grandpa, the sister, the brother, whoever, I'm going to go all out and give it my all with the prep. And, some people, you get busy, you have family and you have, you know, multiple games in a week. Sometimes that happens for me. Sometimes I get more time to prep. I do have a young family right now. So my prepping is probably like in the wee hours of the morning, different maybe than some other times that I used to do it before I had children. And I would say that I always feel the most comfortable, whether I'm doing a union game, a national game for ESPN, US Open. I just did the ACC a couple, really a month and a half ago, the ACC Indoor Track and Field Championships. I'm going to do the Outdoor Track and Field Championship. There was like 300 names, like of all the athletes in these races. And I would have a blurb. I'm not kidding. I would barely sleep when I do that job. I would have a blurb on every single person just in case he or she shined on the call, just if I needed it. And it's no different than when I do union games. Of course, I know the union very well, just being part of the team. This is my 10th season with the team. But I can just like peel back the curtain a little bit for people. I often, go back and watch the union's last game. I'll listen to my call, how I did, what I want to do differently. I'll watch the video of the game. I'll then, for like a scout, like for New York City, for example, I'll go back and watch highlights of all the games they played, especially if it's early in the season like this. And then I'll pick, a couple games to watch back in full when I have time. And if not full, it will be good chunks of each half. And mainly that helps with player identification tendencies because I like to tell stories as opposed to just saying, Dave Leno scored 10 goals and 5 assists last year. Okay, that's great. Yeah, and I have that information on my like charts that I do write down. But I want to be able to say why Dave has scored those. So I read a lot of articles from like you guys and what your colleagues put out, and something like that might come out over the air. But a lot of it is just watching, listening, asking questions to our staff, asking questions to other broadcasters in the league that maybe know New York City better than I do, that have covered them, and just honestly, then it's calling the most paramount thing, especially doing radio play-by-play, different from when I did TV with soccer, is that, am I calling a smooth game? Am I painting a very detailed picture for the audience? The prep's there if I need it. But the big thing is closing my eyes when I listen back to my highlights. Like, did I identify and describe exactly what I saw, as if he or she listening was right there in the stands? Sometimes there's areas, not to get too much into it, but there's plays where I can be a little bit more descriptive. Pat takes a two-step approach, swings his leg forward north to south, an outswinging ball with plenty of pace, goes to the 6, header by Glesnes, off the mark, just missing to the right of goal by about 2 inches, goal kick. Like, sometimes I could just say, it goes so fast that I'm like, Vasilev corner, in swinger, headed by Makanya, misses high above the crossbar. Here comes a goal kick. Like, but I always want to try to improve. So I appreciate you saying that with all the prep, because I will never walk into a booth without notes any kind. And it just kind of maybe depends on the matchup if I have more or less, and obviously time definitely plays into that. But I've always done my homework. When people think of me as a broadcaster, like you said, that's honestly, it's one of the greatest compliments, because I don't care if I'm doing a little league game where I'm volunteering, and back in my, Bucks County, PA, what I used to do, and saying number 5, Johnny Lewis is coming up to bat, and I go to the parent, give me a little thing about Johnny, or I'm doing a Union game where I can look up stuff and do all this great research. So I really appreciate that, and I'm honored to be from the area and part of to be a voice of a Philadelphia team as well. I played soccer growing up in Northeast Philly and then in the suburbs, and probably a lot of people don't know, one of my first forays into broadcasting in college at the Division I level was broadcasting Indiana men's and women's soccer. And the teams, the Indiana men's team especially, has been one of like the best college teams in the history of collegiate soccer. And I got to call a number of games there to kind of, cut my teeth, if you will. I hate using cliches, but to just get all this experience, that led to me getting on the Big Ten Network at like 21 years old, calling a Michigan-Indiana game on national TV. So that was like one of my first little breaks. And then I was the inaugural voice of Bethlehem Steel in 2016. That was kind of my first little job with the Union. Not really little, but that was my first kind of in. And then I was hosting pregame and halftime shows on I think at the time was like the Comcast Network or Comcast Sportsnet, before this whole NBC Sports Philadelphia, and before we were on PHL 17 and 6 ABC. So I've done it a long time. I've seen a lot. I'm still young in the game, but I'll tell you, every time I put on that headset, guys, I can tell you, and I can tell all your viewers here, is that I close my eyes. This is not like no BS. Like, I think back to like when I first started when I was just dreaming of being in a position like this to be a part of a sports team. So I take it very seriously. I take the hard work that you said, the prep, very seriously. I do it all up until I leave. You may see me post on social media like my final touches of prep, because I have a lot of notes, and then I look at it even more before I go in my car to leave for the stadium. So I thank you for that. And I hope that a lot of that prep comes out over the air, and my sharp game calling does too.
Yeah,
it does. We'll be waiting for it Saturday.
Dave,
We'll be waiting for it Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm admired for it. I'm definitely a fan of your work. Again, now even more I like you because you mentioned you were from the Northeast, and exactly where I'm from. So again, before I moved out here in Ambler. So, but listen,
Ambler's
I
beautiful too.
definitely was. Yes, it's a beautiful town, little beautiful town. I love it here. But listen, Dave, I want to say thank you so much for joining me and Steve for this great interview. We had a blast having you on, and listen, we can't wait to hear you this weekend, guys. Make sure you're checking into 97.5 The Fanatic. You can hear Dave call the action himself against NYCFC. It's going to be a great matchup. It's a rivalry game. No better place to be if you're doing running arounds. Like my wife will have me doing a lot of running around. So you plug in, you listen to Dave. No better time, and just get back like Dave says. He paints a picture and just cruise. You know what I mean? Just don't get in an accident. So anyway. Guys, thank you so much. My man Dave is the man. Guys, please give Dave Leno a follow on all of his social media platforms. Dave, where can the people follow you at?
Sure. At like on Twitter or whatever it's called. Instagram at Dave Leno. I'm always a sucker for like when I follow other reporters or broadcasters like behind the scenes content. So I think that's kind of the most fun things that I probably post. I'm not a huge poster, but I'll often tell people like how to listen to the games, where to find work, national stuff as well. So at Dave Leno TV, I appreciate the shout. Yes, this weekend I'm gonna be with Shane and Williams on the call for the road at Queens. 97.5 The Fanatic, 7:30. And I often tell people, because Apple was supposed to last year, like have an option if you have that season pass stuff, which I'm all traditional way of just hearing me on the radio, but they're games. So there is an option if you have season pass on Apple TV to, switch to the home radio. My fellow radio guys and gals in MLS who do a great job. They were supposed to do that for the road. It hasn't happened. But I'll lastly say, Pat and Steve, is that if you go on the 97.5 app, which is completely free, download 97 The Fanatic app. If you search that in the App Store, you can sync that up if you're watching on TV or if you're in the yard doing something or running errands, or you plug it into your where you don't have to plug it in, just have your Bluetooth in your car, just listen on your phone. The feed is crystal clear on the app too, completely free wherever you are. There's a Union icon at the top. When you go in that app, you click that, and you can hear our feed if you're not in the car or any traditional way. Of course, there's the station website, all that. So I really appreciate the plug. We give you the local call, and whether I'm with Shannon or Sebastian on the call, we're honest people. We tell you like it is, things that are going well, things that aren't. Of course, we're Union guys, so we're cheering on the Union, and I'll go crazy with a great goal call or a brick wall Blake save. But we'll tell you when things are not going well too, and what the Union, in our opinion, from our little position, need to do. So we're honest up front. We give you the local angle of the team, what we hear kind of on the inside, behind the scenes, and we hope again. My goal is just to make it feel like you're actually watching the game with your very eyes, and I can be the voice of it for you for that couple of hours. So thank you again for the plug, and we should be on 97.5. There shouldn't be any conflicts with like the Sixers or Flyers because they're not making the playoffs this year, unfortunately, as a Philly guy.
No.
So we're not going to be on the other station. So I think we'll be on 97.5 pretty much throughout the season until I guess maybe they get back later in the fall. So looking forward to it, and hopefully you guys will be around for some games, both home and on the road this year.
Oh, absolutely. We're looking forward to it, Dave.
So yes, guys, listen, everyone give my guy Dave a follow. Great guy, man. I love this guy. He's great. I'm honored. He wanted to come on here for well, I thought it was going to be a few minutes, but it turned out he wanted to hang out with me and Steve. Usually, people don't like to hang out with me and Steve more than 10 minutes, but this is a first we get. No, I'm kidding. But listen, I definitely appreciate Dave you coming in and hanging out with me and Steve for a little bit. On the attack and third, this is our 5th season, guys. It's a Rep Sports. Thank you so much there, Dave. Thank you so much. guys, go if you're like I said, if you haven't yet, go subscribe, go follow my man Dave everywhere. David, thank you so much, and Dave, have a great night. All right.
Yeah, you guys kick butt on the rest of your show. Thank you very much for having me, and I hope everybody watching has a great night. And let's go Union. Take care, everybody.
Let's go Union,
ya.
Duke.
Let's
Bye-bye.
go, you.
Duke.
See you, brother. Right. Well, man, that was awesome. That was awesome. He's great.
A lot
I know
of
he's
fun,
probably
right?
got to get ready for,
Yeah,
a lot
we're
of
cutting
fun. He's
into
got
his
the
prep
young
time,
talent,
Pat.
I'm probably going to be.
We're asking him all these questions about prep and everything. We're cutting into his prep time for him to be able to, get on the call on Saturday.
Right. Right. I mean, my man's got to enter the Batcave. I mean, that dude, he's ready to rock and roll. But anyway, listen,
absolutely.
Steve, that was a great
great
episode. I think that was a good way for us to cut out. Thank you for everyone who's chimed in. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your comments. I mean, I was zoned into talking to my man Dave. But anyway, guys.
Final score.
Thank you so
Score.
much.
What do you got? What do you got? Quick.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What do you got for Saturday? Final score.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Union win, and I'm gonna go meal of the night. I'm gonna go hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
I'm gonna go.
You didn't get enough at Dollar Hot Dogs? You didn't get enough at Dollar Dog Night? You didn't get enough?
No.
I'm going.
Okay.
Never. Yeah. No. I'm with you. You can never get enough. I'm going 3-1. I'm going 3-1. Union win. 2 goals from Kai, and I think Indy gets a goal, slotting in for Gazdag, and I think we're gonna go meatball subs on Saturday. We're gonna go meatball subs on Saturday. Yeah,
Jared, that's a Jersey Mike meatball sub. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
Listen, guys. Me, Steve. Well, listen, we'll be back here next week. I promise my little guy won't be going off like he did the whole entire episode. Thanks there, Dom. And listen, go Union. Me, Steve. We'll be back here next week. And hopefully I won't have no lagging issues. But all seriously, guys, have a great night.
Talking about a W.
We'll be talking about a W. Guys, have a great night. And stay tuned. We have more It's a Wrap Sports tomorrow night. With the
Fighting's final, and what is today?
Tonight.
Thursday, yeah. And then Matty B afterwards, his last show of the week.
Last show of the week. So guys, stay tuned for more action coming your way. Guys, see you later.